Well, good evening. Meteorologist Sam Gabrielli checking in with you, giving you a further update here at WHAS11. We're around the clock working all day long with the First Alert Storm Team. Alongside me, we have Christina and also Alden here giving you further updates on the progression of this very impactful storm system. We've been watching it all day long today. It's affecting 80 million people across the country, and we've seen some very catastrophic tornadoes that have been ongoing for Arkansas and Iowa, and now the attention across the nation is news out of this. But most of our storms right now are staying down to the south. So if you reside down towards Taylor, Hart counties, Marion counties, Adair counties, you're probably noticing a couple of thunderstorms right now. We're not too concerned about this batch as it is making its way kind of west to east as we speak. But the main concern is off to our west right now. There's a very significant storm system. Obviously, we have several warnings in central and southern Illinois right now. Some tornado warnings actually being detected just south of Effingham in Illinois. And even our friends in Paducah, western Kentucky, extreme southern Illinois, are picking up some active tornado warnings there as well. So we expect all that activity to kind of fill in and make its way into Kentuckiana later on tonight. We're looking at the timeline probably closer to about midnight here in Louisville, maybe a little bit earlier for you reside west of I-65. And we'll get to Futurecast in just a moment, but that's kind of a current look at our current radar. So again, here in Kentuckiana, we're watching more of just heavier showers, some rumbles of thunder, but off to the west, that's where that big time concern is right now for the severe weather. So I'm going to talk about the bottom line real quick before I dive into the main threats and the overall timing of these storms. This is what you need to know. These storms are on the way, most likely affecting us here between 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. tonight. Strong wind is going to continue during the day tomorrow. So the storms are going to be done by the time we get into very early tomorrow morning, very late tonight. But unfortunately, wind gusts are going to be in excess of 40 miles an hour at times, and that's going to make for power outages, just not even due to thunderstorms. So this is going to be a very long duration type event here is what we're tracking. With this whole storm system. This is that overall risk still for severe weather. The Storm Prediction Center, as the storms have kind of been dwindling off to our west, is getting rid of that overall risk for our friends in Missouri, Iowa, but we are still highlighted though in that 3 and 4 out of 5 on the scale of severe weather. So don't get your guard down. This is something obviously we need to be taking very seriously. These storms are likely going to be capable tonight of producing some hail that could be up to about golf ball size at times. But the biggest concerns will be more for the form of a couple of tornadoes likely and some wind gusts ranging from 70 to maybe 75 miles an hour. It just depends on if these storms form into a line or if they're going to be more single-celled. It's just we're watching it very closely. Supercells is the overall term is what we talk about in the weather community. That is the most kind of potent storm, if you can think of it that way, where the main risks are going to be most likely. So anytime you deal with the supercell in a single storm, that's where we could be talking about the most significant type of conditions. Now the good news is flooding overall. I know we've been dealing with a lot of flooding issues so far this year. The flooding risk is on the low side. So that's the good news out of the system. These storms are going to rumble through very quickly. I would be surprised if some areas pick up an inch to an inch and a half of rain when it's all said and done, when these storms do kind of make their way well off to the east with time. Now this is our current Futurecast. This is the moment I know a lot of you tuning in are waiting for. When are these storms going to move in? When is it going to affect me? What's the overall timing of this activity? The good news is one of our forecast models has just refreshed itself. And right now, what we do think is, most of these storms are going to be kind of originating off to our west, still throughout the early to mid-evening hours or so. But notice as we get into that 10 o'clock hour, so the next half an hour, about 45 minutes, that storm that you saw over Paducah, it's likely going to be reaching our far western communities by the 10 o'clock hour from Jasper, Tell City. Keep in mind, these are locations in central time, so that'll be closer to about 9 o'clock your time if you reside off into that Evansville area. And these storms are going to be making their way into basically Jefferson County and far northern Jefferson County here in Louisville, in southern Indiana as well. Also, side note, I should have mentioned this way earlier in the video. Christina's sitting alongside me, and if you have any kind of questions or comments, she is here to answer those. I almost called you Colleen.
That's okay. You're used to working with Colleen. Hey,
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. So I have all of our streams pulled up over here on our computer. I know you can't see it behind the camera, but I'm watching for any of your guys' questions and also watching out for updates from the National Weather Service or as far as our live radar goes. So we have 3 meteorologists sitting at this center, or the weather center right now, just making sure that we're keeping you folks updated.
Exactly. Perfect. So, Christina, yeah, if there's ever questions, let me know, and we'll answer those here on the fly. But
and good evening, Beverly. She said, good evening from Borden.
Oh, look at that, from Borden. Okay. That's an area I do think, Christina and I were talking about southern Indiana with this new Futurecast, update. We do think that southern Indiana might get the likelihood of seeing severe weather here.
Yes, especially to the west of I-65. So Borden would be included in that. Floyd County, pretty much, especially when we're looking in southern Indiana to the west of I-65. The atmosphere is a little more unstable, which is good to feed those severe storms. There was some peaks of sunshine earlier. Temperatures got pretty warm. And so we'll have to watch that very closely. I'd be very surprised if we didn't at least get a severe thunderstorm warning when those storms do arrive.
Most definitely.
Beverly is asking what time for Borden. Let's see, it's 9:30 right now. Our timing has always been between the hours of 9 and 2 o'clock in the morning. With this incoming line, I'd still say it'd be between 10 and 11 o'clock tonight.
Right. And that'd be Eastern time. Yeah.
And the thing is, we're actually tracking what could be 2 waves coming in of severe weather lasting through 2 o'clock in the morning. And that's what Sam is showing you there on Futurecast. So you have your first wave. Can you
back it up a little bit? Yeah, so we're watching
watch
that first wave. So those are the storms I showed in Paducah earlier in this video. We do think that cluster will make its way across Perry County, Du Bois County, towards Paoli, Washington County, as we get into that 10, 11 o'clock hour. That's Eastern time. I know that's right on the border. And then it's looking likely that we might see storms kind of split. There will be a second line coming at us from the northwest. You see that towards Jasper, Bedford, Paoli. That's going to be more towards 11 o'clock Central, midnight Eastern. And then, we're still going to have storms down to the south, Bardstown, Mumfordville, Campbellsville. So there might be a chance here, Christina, that we're going to be dealing with 2 different storms at one time across Kentuckiana.
Yeah, as they both trek on to the east. We have Melissa asking about Scottsburg, and pretty much the same situation for you, Melissa, except I'd add an hour to it as it works its way toward the east. So let's call the first wave between 10 and 11, and then the second wave potentially around 1 o'clock in the morning, which of course, severe weather is never ideal, but it's especially not ideal whenever we're talking about when most folks would be asleep.
Exactly. So that's why it's very important you have the WHAS11 app downloaded on your phone to get those notifications
and
overnight.
make sure that you're charging your phone right now. In the event that you do lose power, you want to make sure all your devices are charged up. I know I have my sister charging my children's iPads because that's something that they like to have, just in the chance that the power does go out, because not only are we talking about potential tornadoes or severe thunderstorms, a big thing is damaging wind gusts. And as we know from earlier this month, a lot of folks lost power.
Yeah, a lot of folks
lost. And they were out without power for a few days, sometimes weeks.
Up to a week?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we're still watching this line of storms. It's looking likely there'll be 2 different clusters. And it looks like we're about to record something real soon here in the studio, so we might have to end this video shortly,
Yes.
but I just want to remind everybody as well. We actually have a tornado watch in effect for our area. It's basically slicing anybody in half right now from I-65 in west, but there are a couple of communities just to the east of I-65 that are still included in that tornado watch. That goes until 3 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 2 a.m. Central. So if you do reside in this red shaded counties, please make sure you know your safe space when those warnings are issued. And like you mentioned as well, Christina, you have all your devices charged up.
Yeah, just preparation.
Right.
That'll set you up for success later on in case a warning is issued in your area. We did have a question about the weakening. We do expect there to be more unstable air to the west of I-65, and the farther east that it travels, it'll probably lose a bit of steam. It'll lose some juice. Not saying you should be putting your guard down. You still need to be weather aware if you are to the east of 65. We're just saying the risk is not as great as it is for our communities to the west of I-65.
Exactly. So we are going to be back giving you more in-depth updates as we head into the remainder of the evening, especially as these storms knock on our western community's doorstep as we approach the late evening hours. But if we have any other questions, Christina, do we have any more, or is it looking pretty quiet right now?
At this point, I'm not seeing any new
Okay.
ones coming in.
Okay.
But
Great.
we will be hopping back on here, especially if there's any warnings that are being sent out. And just make sure that you're, looking out for any of our new updates that we're sending here. Keeping you updated every step of the way.
Yep. We'll be back with more updates throughout the evening. Stay safe, everybody. Thank you.